Hi, and good afternoon to those folks on the eastern half of the country, or good morning if you're out west. This is Mark Wolf with Emergency Reporting here for our fifth Virtual Thursday presentation for the year. It's our second partner presentation, and we have the folks from netDuty on board with us. I'll be introducing them in just a moment. I do want to give a shout out to a few folks whose names that I saw on our attendee list. That I've worked with before. Mary Wardian up in Washington State. How are you doing? Good to see you there. Greg Ballman out in California. He was at our Phoenix Regional Training Academy here a few weeks ago. I see Jay Gunsalz is on board. And Jay, if you don't remember me, I am in Greenville, Ohio in Darke County, where you came in 2012 to do training for us. And it was pretty informative, and I appreciate meeting you back then. And I see Chief Ayers on board as well. And I just saw him actually last week up in Salina, Ohio for an on-site training. And Chief, it's good to see you as well. We do have a few of our staff on board with us today. I want to give a shout out to, and that'd be Michelle Stauffer in our sales department, and Katie from support is on. And if there's anybody else that I missed here, I apologize for it, but we're going to go ahead and move on and start the presentation. Today we are presenting with our folks partner company at netDuty. Again, my name is Mark Wolf. I'm a regional and a DoD trainer. We have on board with us today from netDuty is Steve Hoover and Alan Vermeer, and I'm going to turn this over to them in just a moment. I want to remind everybody of some excellent training opportunities that you would have. Our virtual Thursdays are free, and you know that saying, if it's free, it's for me. It's on the first and third Thursdays at 1100 hours Pacific time. We do provide online training in 3-hour blocks on topics and materials that we can customize to meet your needs. We do provide on-site training at your department. You can contact us at training@emergencyreporting.com, and you'll be communicating with Nicole, our training coordinator, to get information about that. And also we provide around the country regional and national training academies. And we do have a regional training academy coming up here in a couple weeks down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, March 13th through 15th, and May 15th through 17th up in Seattle, Washington. And the one after that is in June 19th and 21st through the 21st in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's the next few upcoming regional training academies. And at this point, without further ado, we're going to hand a presentation over to Steve Hoover with netDuty and go from there. So Steve, you should have control and should be able to start presenting and sharing your screen. There we go. Awesome.
All right. Hello, my name's Steve Hoover. I work with netDuty Online, and I do the sales implementation support. I do a little bit of everything. So if you need a demonstration, you're probably going to hear it from me. So today we're going to introduce you to our next version, or our scheduling product. We do advanced scheduling, and one of the things that we do, and we've worked with emergency reporting, is to be able to send those schedules over along with the names, the apparatus, the positions, activity codes, those kinds of things, over to emergency reporting to show up in your daily roster. And again, now you don't have to do both updates in both systems. You do it in netDuty, and that information comes across. You can use the reporting features within the emergency reporting to do daily roster type reports, and you can also use it to fill your MFERS reports. So as those apparatus get assigned, you can do a fill from, and we're going to show all that stuff today. So one of the things about netDuty Online is we come in several different versions. So we support a scheduling only product for volunteers, part-times, full-time career departments. And that gives you basic scheduling, availability tracking, such as leaves and for time off. They can do shift signups, exchange swaps, exchanges, those kinds of things. And our Scheduling Plus offers a little bit more advanced functionality. Allows you to to do availability tracking, such as bidding, those kinds of things on shifts, so your part-time or your volunteers can bid for open shifts, and then as an admin you can go do sign-ups on that. And it also includes a basic time off module, and with that basic time off module you can track all your different types of time off. It doesn't come with any time banks or accruals, but our advanced version does allow you to then do accruals, forecasting, time bank type information, allow you to build payroll processing rules, so you can build overtime rules, comp time rules, those kinds of things, fill comp time bank based on rules and so forth. That handout is available or this current document that you should be seeing at the moment, which is available under handout, so you can open that up and download it at your leisure. So next we're going to flip over here to netDuty Online, and we're going to go to our dashboard here. So netDuty Online is a hosted-based system. It's hosted on Amazon Web Services, giving us full high availability and regional, the ability to have multiple servers and so forth, so you don't have any downtime. All of our updates are 99% of the updates and changes and fixes done to the system are going to be done online, so you don't have to log off, those kinds of things, to see those features or updates. So again, should be highly available. Our system comes with a communications module. That communications module allows you to email and or text out notifications and or automated reports. So notifications such as you have a call out request, or you have an overtime request, or you have a shift fill request, those can be sent out. Paid time off requests, paid time off approvals, trades or swap requests, trades and swap approvals. So those kinds of notifications can go out to the users so they can log into netDuty and accept or offer for those particular type notifications. The system's role and privilege based, so as you depending on your user type and role, we can have multiple roles and multiple privileges. So as your basic firefighter, you may log in and have the ability to offer for an overtime opportunity. You might be able to request time off. You might be able to sign up for shifts, depending on, again, permissions that are set up based on the site's parameters. As an admin, you're going to be able to come in and make and approve time off requests, make and approve exchange requests, those kinds of, or trade requests, assign people to shifts, remove them from shifts, move them, assign them to apparatuses, and so forth. So when you log into netDuty Online, you come to what we call our dashboard. So on the dashboard on the left-hand side is the current shift. We currently have this site set up with various different stations. So as you can see, Station 1, or headquarters, Station 1, Station 2, etc. I need to, and also what their current status is. So the little blue icon here is telling me that they're currently on duty. As you hover over icons within netDuty, it's going to give you a tooltip to tell you what that is. That makes easier for users coming in that don't use it a lot, or your basic users that want to, are able to hover over stuff and know what they do without having to go to help or ask a question, those kinds of things. As you move down, there's a little checkerboard here. We have a trade, a substitution going on today, so Castle is covering for a Denhart, those kinds of things. As we scroll on down, we'll see Station 3, admin, Station 4. All of this, the data that you're seeing here in the demo is configurable. So we can set up different stations, we can set up different apparatuses, we can set up shifts instead of apparatuses and tie those shifts to apparatuses, those kinds of things. Your paid time off is your paid time off. Your if you call a overtime opportunity, an overtime opportunity versus a call out request or a shift recall, those kinds of things. The system comes with a language module, so you're able to go in and update those terms to, again, match them to what your site does. We don't want you to relearn your scheduling. We want you to be able to use our features and our functionality with your scheduling. So as we take a look at this, again, the little blue icon here, this person's working a partial shift. So again, we're going to give you that type of information as you're doing your scheduling. As you move towards the center, you're looking at our trades dialog here. So users will be able to offer for a trade request. Users will be able to send out trade requests. They'll be able to do what we call a direct offer. So if they've already worked out their trade with another user in another shift, they can put that request in, put the other person's name in, the other person's shift. We'll send out an email to that other person so he actually approves that, yes, I agreed to take this shift. So when it shows up to the battalion chief there to approve it, it's already two people have agreed, not just one. So when that request comes in, the administrator will see that it's up here, see that it's pending for as an offer, so he can manage it. He can open that up. He can see that we have a trade on the 2nd of April, and we have an offer by a Denhart that's going to swap his shift on the 24th. As an administrator, then we can approve that. It will do those swaps in the shifts automatically, and again show that indicator that there's a swap. You can deny it, you can delete it also as an administrator, and so forth. Again, as a user, when they come in to make an offer, they can offer their various shifts. With our substitution module, trade module, you can do trade banks. So if they want, they can trade time in your agency. You can keep track of that time, so we'll know who offered and who traded and who owes time in the future to pay back that person that did a trade. As we move across, the next box we're going to look at here is the call-out box. Again, call-outs, overtime requests. We support a couple of different types of call-out requests. Your on-shift type thing, so engine 1 needs a personnel because somebody's taken vacation or took time off or called in sick, those kinds of things. The users can again make offers for that. Those offers can be selected based on overtime lists for our advanced version. So we support multiple overtime lists, so they can have a voluntary overtime, a mandatory overtime, those kinds of things. And when you see these offers, you can rank them in that order that they're in that list and accept them based on that list. They'll then move to the bottom of that list, or based on the type of list it is, they may add hours to that list, those kinds of things, and then again rearrange based on those hours. We also support call-out requests for what we call our sign-up events. Sign-up events are your non-shift related or duty-related activity. So you could be doing training during the day, training that doesn't affect the current crew staffing. So that would be an on-duty type event, and anybody that's on duty or anybody could apply to that. We don't keep track of the time for that type of event because it's not a paid type event, but we also then support a paid type event. So it could be an overtime opportunity depending on your rules and so forth. So those are normally your off shift type opportunities. Could be a car seat install check that we need extra resource for, could be a football game that you need extra resources for. With those paid events, we allow you to select the type of a skill or requirement that you need for those particular events. So you may require one captain, 2 firefighters, and a driver or an engineer for that particular event, and you can send out that call out notice to all the qualified people. And again, the people that are qualified can apply for their particular qualifications. So if you're a basic firefighter, you're going to get that slot for firefighter where your captain could apply for possibly the driver and the captain type opportunities. And then below that, we're just going to show you the next shifts coming up. So our system supports a wide variety of shift patterns or company patterns. So 24/48, 48/96, 1 on, 1 off, 4 off, those kinds of things. And then we can also build individual type patterns. So we can build a pattern that matches your particular shift pattern. So your career guys as a whole might have one pattern. Your fire inspectors might have a different pattern. Your admin may be working Monday through Friday, those kinds of things. They also may be providing a duty chief type position they're on for 7, off for 7, those kinds of patterns, and we can build those as needed for each individual. All right. I don't know, Mark, you get any questions so far?
Steve, none so far. I just want to remind everybody, it's a good opportunity to remind everybody that you do have a question panel that you can open up and post a question up to Steve or Alan, and we'll get an answer to you. So go ahead and feel free to do so as they're going through the presentation. Thanks, Steve.
Yep, no problem. So I will continue on. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit our calendar. Our calendar normally will initially come up in what we call the month view. That month view can be set up to do a pay period view or an overtime view, those kinds of things. So we can click on those different buttons and have the display display differently. The current highlighted or gray day there you see is the first, so you can quickly scroll through the calendar and see that that what day is actually today. With a good scheduling system, you're able to build out those schedules, those patterns, monthly, yearly, whatever happens to be the case. In most cases it's yearly. So once you've built out that schedule, users can request overtime, admin can make shift changes, those kinds of things. So as they're going through there, they're going to be able to do all that particular stuff. As an admin, you'll be able to go back within the current pay period and make changes, add time off, make some changes, as say to overtime or comp time, those kinds of things. And then in the future, obviously, all those paid time off requests, those skips, moving people from station 1 to station 2, those kinds of things can be done easily within netDuty Online. All of these panels within netDuty Online are clickable, so you can go to that day and make those changes and edits. As you see, we have information up here, such as the shift schedule. So we're on 2448 with different colors, those kinds of things. Within our system, we support duty and skill-based alerting. So on the second, you'll see here that CAR2 is indicating that it's red. That means we have a minimum set for it of 1, and that's not filled. We can also set maximums on those various different apparatuses. So you can only assign a maximum number of people, those kinds of things. We can also set up what we call skill alerts. And with a skill alert, we can set up different skills required for a particular station based on a day a week, based on the time of day, those kinds of things, and including the whole as a whole. So currently we have Station 2 set up with 4 firefighters, and it's fallen below that minimum, so it's alerting us. Car 2 is alerting us because we're below the minimum, and it's going to tell us the particular times that we're falling below that too. So on Friday, our paramedic has fallen below only between 1,600 and 2,000. So you're able to do your staffing based on that, send out your call out notices and so forth. We're able to filter these, so if Station 1 firefighter only wants to see Station 1, he can show his filters, turn off the other station, save that, and be able to keep that the next time he comes in, so he only sees Station 1. If he wants to see the other stations, he can turn it back on in the future. As far as moving through the calendar, you can click on the month that you want to go to. I know if there's some of our users that are current users of netDuty here, much easier to get to December than currently within our current product. So you can just click on December, the December month pulls up, and you're able to start doing any edits and changes, those kinds of things. So next, we're going to head to what we call our day view. And on our day view here, we're going to show some information here. On the left-hand side is our mini calendar. Again, you're going to, as an administrator, at least, people are calling you asking for requests. They didn't log into netDuty Online to make a PTO request, or just calling you and say, I want a time off request, those kinds of things. So you can go to those days, you can approve them, those trades, those exchanges, and so forth. You can go to the next month and back and so forth. Our system is transaction based, so everything that you do within the system is logged. So users transactions, admins transactions, paid time off request, PT or exchange request, a change exchange or trade approvals, paid time off approvals, removing from people from shift, all that's in there. So when you wondering what happened to this particular for this person on this day, you can go in those transactions and look. Next, as we move over, any trades that are currently approved are showing up here on this this view. As an administrator, you can edit it, you can cancel it. If you cancel the trade, it'll put the people back on their original shifts, those kinds of things. As you move down, you can look at the time off request. You can delete that request. Again, if you delete that request, it's going to put it back on, put the person back on shift, and so forth. There's a requested time off. At some point, you may be able to approve that from within this module as we continue along enhancing this system. And you move to the system, to the center here. This is your main duty roster. You'll be able to move people from positions, request time off, do exchanges. All of the items have tooltips. So if you hover over and you're wondering what the little clock there is, that's create time off request. As I said, the time off requests are configurable, so that list that shows up. So we're going to click on Frederick's here and create a time off. That's going to pull up our time off box here. And these categories are configurable. Not only are these categories configurable, but we can set these up to display for different roster groups. So if your administrators have different PTO that's available to them than your career staff, they're only going to see their particular staff. So I'm on a career guy, I'm going to see the career guy's PTO. As a user, he's going to only see his PTO. As we click on a different type of PTO and we select that, it's going to pull up a forecasting. So with our advanced version, we support time banks, both normal rollover time banks and use it or lose it type time banks. And we're going to have the ability to set up accruals, set up their balance, and then as those things are used, and if I had PTO or paid time off here in the future, it would also show those and show what my bank would be and so forth. So it's going to give you that running balance so people can't go into the negative, those kinds of things. We can set various parameters on those banks that say, hey, you can't cancel this PTO within 7 days of it happening. You can't go negative on that balance, those kinds of things. It must be at least a 12-hour or a 24-hour request, so you can do a partial paid time off, but it can't be less than 12 hours, those kinds of things. As administrator, you can create a request or create a request and approval, so you can approve it right there on the line. You can do a partial time off, so you can do it in the middle of the shift, at the end of the shift, the beginning of the shift. You can have multiple paid time offs during that day, so you may take vacation for part of his shift and take comp time for the other part of his shift, those kinds of things. All right. You can split his shift. You can split his shift into multiple duties, so you can move them, assign them to multiple location, so he can be in truck 1 for part of the shift, ladder 1 for part of the shift, those kinds of things. We're going to go into the shift editing here and show you some of the things that you can do within there. Actually, that's a create shift. So while we're at here, so you can create shifts. So if you have somebody that you need to fill to that shift and you know who that is, you can go select that qualified user, pick him. We're in car 2, so there's only several people that are qualified for the battalion chief's car. So we can pick that person. We can pick their shift category. So this is what we use to send over as position in ER. So we can set him up as a battalion chief, or say he was working duty officer today, those kinds of things. We can also select a time clock category. So if he isn't working just regular time, he's coming in here for unscheduled overtime or scheduled overtime, or he wants to get this overtime as comp time earned, those kinds of things, those can be selected. And again, based on those payroll processing rules, we can, fill the bank with comp time info at his hours at 1.5 times, if that's the rule, those kinds of things. We can also send a call out request from here. So again, we can send out a call out notification, high, medium, low, make the priority on that call out. We can select the users that need to go to this, so we can select other users that we want to send this. We can send this as a restricted call out, and a restricted call out in our system means that the people that we send it to that are in that list are the only people that can offer for that particular. So if we were opening this up only to Gardner at the moment, we could delete Johnson, send out a restricted. Gardner doesn't respond. We can open it up to anybody that's qualified by sending it out again unrestricted. All right, so we're gonna close this screen.
Okay, Steve, Mark Wolf here breaking in. We've got a question from Rich in the time off section. We have comp time that can be earned. How easy is it for admins to add this time?
Right, so as part of that shift, when they come on, when they assign that shift, if you set it up as comp time, now based on the rule, we're gonna put that and again on the version of netDuty that you're in, we can report it as comp time earned. We can also put it in our advanced version, put it into a comp time bank, and based on rules. So if the captains get comp time at 1.0 times, we can set up a roster group for captains, and they only get it at time, where your basic firefighter may get it at time and a half. So again, when you're in that, when you're editing that shift, you can set that time clock category to comp time. So we'll pull that up here again, and that time clock category of comp time. And again, based on the rules, as that shift happens, those kinds of things, we're going to put it into their bank if you have the advanced option. All right.
Okay, before you move on, well, never mind. We've got Kevin is asking a couple questions about our maintenance module, so I'll answer that by email. Thanks a lot.
Okay, sounds good. All right. We can also put people on trades. We can request a trade. We can request and approve as an admin a trade. We support trade banks, so they can pick to track that time in the future. We can remove people from shifts, those kinds of things. We can set up shift notes. So the chief is currently out of station today, so we put that note in. So when people come in and take a look at that, the chief's still in car 2. He still may respond to a call if needed, but he's out at a chief's meeting from 8 to 1400 today. We also show that position or that shift category on here, so the chief and so forth. Normally we don't show the full shift times, but we are currently showing them. But we can set those up based on configuration to show partial shifts, full shifts, those kinds of things, if based on the site's requirements. So partial shift was working down here of Mr. LaRoque. All right, what else we got on this that I want to show? All right, so next we're going to go off of shift editing and move over to our events. We support a couple of different types of events. We support a normal event, just displays on the calendar. Could be fire prevention week that you want somebody to know about. Could be a station tour that's going on, those kinds of things, open house. With that, we don't assign any resources, just a time and display it on, and we also don't do a call out notice on it. Below that, we support what we call sign-up events. And sign-up events allow you to set up events based on qualifications, whether it's an on-duty type event or an off-duty type event. So we have a pay event and a no pay event set up here. So we're going to pull that screen up here. This screen needs a little bit of work. We're still working on this new version. It's not quite ready to roll out, but it is getting very close. So we can put a label in. We can select that duty, pay or no pay, those types of things. Set up the time that it's required of that event. So this say that it's going on between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. We can set up the minimum and the maximum qualifications that are needed. So we set up a skill to everybody of all staff. So if you want to send this out, let's say that this is a meeting notice and you want to send it out to all staff, you can put all staff in there. But let's say that's a specific requirement. We need a battalion chief, 1 captain, and 4 firefighters, those kinds of things. We can set those minimum and max. Based on that requirement, we can assign people with those various different skills to it, or we can send out a call out notice to all the people with those various skills so they can come back in and offer for that, and then as an admin assign them based their offers. All right. So so you're seeing a couple of those different call out notices, the netDuty demonstration, the car seat safety check that we need an EMT for, those kinds of things. And then below that, on the day view, we support administrative notes, and administrative notes are available to people that have administrative privileges. So the chief can come in and say, hey, I want this done at station 1, this done at station 2, and so forth. And then as the officers go in and make sure that those tasks are done, they can update it, and it's saved day by day, those kinds of things. Eventually, that information will go over into the roster narrative within the daily roster. All right. So next thing we're going to go into is some of the account settings for users. They can go in and update their home phone, their cell phone. They can update their email address, those kinds of things. They can, depending on the features and so forth, they could request a leave or create a leave. They could set up their schedule reports. So again, as I talked about, those automated reports that can be set up via notification. I can send out the daily snapshot, which is our daily schedule of everything that's going on every day. I can set it up on my company days, just on weekdays, or only the days that I'm on shift, those kinds of things. So the chief might get it every day in the morning to take a look at what's going on. So on Saturday, he quickly checks who's staffing, what's short of staffing, those kinds of things. And then various different reports can be set up to do that automation. Next, we're going to go over here to the Manager tab. In the Manager tab, for our customers that are current customers that are on here, the Managing Time Off is going to have a new look and a feel. A lot of the administration type tools that where you deal with multiple users, those kinds of things, or multiple type requests are going to have this new GUI that you're looking at. So we can look at all time off requests, which is a huge list, or all complete requests. Again, based on the month that's in the system. We can look at all requested, so I can look at April and see if I have any requested time off. So these are the various time offs that I have within here. So I can select the whole month and work on all of these guys at the same time. I can click off different individuals and say, maybe I don't want to deal with a Denhart's time off here at the moment. I can hit the double arrow up here, and this puts it to our on deck circle. So within the on deck, you're going to review each one of these. You can do different things. You can do their forecasting. Excuse me. You can see who's on shift that particular day. You can approve it. You can delete it. Those kinds of things. And you can cycle on to the next user and see, again, his time off, do that kind of stuff. And then eventually you'll be able to hit this Approve tab up here. And if you're going to approve all of these time offs at the same time, you hit the Approve button, and it's going to approve all of that time off all at the same time. So you don't have to individually approve. In the future, again, you'll be able to select that upcoming time off for a user. To say that they put their bids in, and I'm the senior guy. It's got vacation scheduled for the whole next year coming up. You click on that user, shows the whole year of paid time off, hit the approve, and bang, you're done with that user. Well, that's easy for the first user. You might have to do some work on the second, third, fifth, and 20th user is because you have some conflicting, or you have multiple time off those kinds of days. But for that user, it was pretty easy. All right.
Hey, so, Steve, Mark Wolf, I'm going to interrupt you. We got a couple questions that have been posted, one by Sherry. And it's pretty simple, and I think we're going to get to this point in a little bit. Just confirm that for us. Does the information entered in netDuty go into emergency reporting also?
Yes, of course it does. That's the whole reason that we're here. So, the apparatuses that are assigned, those people that are assigned, those positions that are assigned, so battalion chief, company officer, firefighter, those kinds of things. And we're going to go over to emergency reporting. We have an account in emergency reporting. So this data, as we update it and so forth, is getting updated over in our instance in emergency reporting. We're also going to go in besides looking at the daily roster, we'll go into an incident report, assign an apparatus, and do a fill from there. So we're going to show all of that information. So not only do the on-duty shifts and that time, those time clock categories that you set. So if you set comp time earned, that's going to show over in the activity code as comp time earned or overtime or cross staff, those kinds of things. We're going to show you some nifty stuff where we can assign a user to multiple apparatuses within the station. So it doesn't matter which apparatus goes to the call, that user is going to show up when you assign them in the MFERS report with that person. But we're only going to track his time in netDuty or in netDuty once, and we're only going to track it really over in emergency reporting once, because that cross staffing is not something that is part of your hours. It's going to be your default apparatus that we're tracking.
Okay, perfect, Steve. We've got another question, and it has to do with bidding on shifts from Michael Holdeman. Can members who wish to bid a shift see if anyone else has bid it and is unapproved?
Yeah, so we can set up our bidding in a couple of different ways, that the users only see their own bids, or they can see all bids that are currently there. So they could see any bids that they're currently open. So if there's 5 people on that have bid for that shift and they're going to be the 6th, then they may not want to bid on that particular operation. Or if 3 people are assigned and there's still 3 bids open, then again, they may not bid on that particular item.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Steve. That's all. Yep. We got one more put in by Michael again. So if changes are made to the roster on ER, does that change get transferred back to netDuty?
So that's a good question. Our system is a one-way transfer. It assumes that we are in charge of that duty roster. So changes made to the duty roster happen in netDuty. If you try to make them within emergency reporting, it's not a good thing. So the only thing that you can really update within emergency reporting successfully is that roster narrative, because we're not sending that across. And that one we probably will append versus actually replace. But when you put somebody on shift or you cross staff them, those kinds of things, those changes are going to show up in your daily roster. So you shouldn't have to make them over there.
Okay, he says, okay, thanks. Thanks a lot, Steve. You can go ahead and jump back into your presentation.
All righty. So that was our viewing and improving and looking at time off. We can, again, do the same thing with our bids as an administrator, look at all those bids, approve multiple at one time, those kinds of things. Again, this module is still being worked on within our new version. It's fully accessible within our current version. Then next, we're going to, next we're going to go back to the calendar, and we're going to do some of those where I talked about the apparatus assignments. And within the apparatus assignment, this is where you're going to be able, for a day, to be able to set those people up as cross-staffed and cross-staffed to multiple vehicles. So we support a drag and drop functionality with this version. So if right now Hoover is the AC, he's working as a company officer today on overtime on engine 3, but he's also cross-staffed to truck. So I can just pull him over here to this cross-staff to this truck, and he'll drop in there. That successfully dropped in there. This say that all these guys are cross-staffed to the truck here. Oh, I cross-staffed him to his own, so we'll see how that works. I cross-staff him over here to the engineer. I'm going to put one of my EMTs on the medic that needs an additional person here. And this puts some firefighters into truck 3.
Okay, hey Steve, while you're building that, maybe you could answer this question posted up by Jay Gunsalls. Are all users assigned a netDuty email address, or can they use a Gmail account?
We require that their login be an email address. It just has to be a unique email address, so it's not a netDuty email address. It's most likely going to be their Gmail address. It could be their agency email, whatever it happens to be. We do support multiple for notifications. So if you want one to your agency email, but you also want one to come to your Gmail, we can you separate that with a comma in the setup, and now you're going to get those notifications to both. So, alrighty.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. So as you've seen for the day, we set up for Station 3, we set up all the various different cross staffing. So it doesn't matter what apparatus goes out; those are going to be the people that show up in the daily roster, and those are the people that when you go attach Medic 3 to that call, Hamlin and Clucky are going to show up as users. So now we're going to go over to emergency reporting. So over here in emergency reporting, again, under our home, we have our various tabs that are set up. So I already hit the daily roster for today. And since we've made some changes and so forth, let's go back and go to the current day. So those changes will update. And as we scroll down, you can see that Carson's on as a paramedic on Medic 1. We got the headquarters, we got Station 2, and the Station 3 ones that I've been updating. We put in Besnoff to an extra firefighter on Engine 3. Down here, we put him also cross-staff to Medic 3, and it looks like I got 3 people there or on to Medic 3, but that's okay. And then on truck, all those users that are cross-staffed. So when you do those reports, you can exclude cross-staffed and only see your overtime scheduled, overtime approved, those comp times, and so forth. We also sent off the paid time off over here, so you can see that Bill Johnson currently is on vacation, and McPhee, that I am user today, is in filling in for overtime. Also, we indicate the trades. So Denhart was supposed to be working today, but he's off. He's on trade off. And then as we go up here, there should be a trade to working. It's here somewhere. I don't see it. So, but he should be showing up there as trade working. So either I'm not seeing it or it didn't come across. But as that information comes across, any of these, when he does a split shift, and his PTO is going to show at the bottom, and his hours are going to update here up at the top. LaRoque's working as a volunteer firefighter. He's working a 14-hour shift instead of a 24, those kinds of things. Any questions on the daily roster update?
We don't have any questions on that, but we do have a couple. First is from Greg Ballman out in California. Okay. Do you have a mobile interface or app?
Yeah, so our mobile interface basically is currently is going to be a web-based type application, and then in the future that's going to be more of a customized mobile web-based application, so it'll be more custom to a particular mobile. With this version of netDuty, it displays much better on the mobile, so the screens are there. You can click on things, all the tooltips that if you used our version 4 don't show up within the system. All the icons, those kinds of things can be clicked on, and you can actually operate very well on a mobile, again, depending on your screen, but you can pinch and expand those kinds of things. So in later in 2018, there'll be a more customized version of that web app, but that's what we're planning for the future.
Okay, and another one from Kenneth. Do notifications only get sent in an email, or can it go out in a text message as well?
Right. So currently the way our notifications work is they go out email and or text. So if you have a notification for say a shift opening today, we're going to send that out in email and text. So it's an immediate, we call that our priority email. So when things are a priority, we're going to send that out in text. Now, some of our clients want everything in text. So their general notification comes out in text also. Our reports don't come out over text because they are HTML based and so forth. So you can't really see them very well on your text. Plus, they're usually a whole bunch of information. So it breaks it up into multiple texts, those kinds of things. But yes, our system does go out in email and text. So.
Okay, one more question posted by Robert. Hello, when a member is cross-staffed on 2 units, how does the program track 24 hours of pay versus the 48 it shows?
Right. So within our system, and again, you can track, pay various different ways. But with our PTO or our scheduling plus and our PTO module, you can definitely do time off report or do time reports. With our advanced version, you can do timesheets, and all those payroll rules, those kinds of things are going to be calculated in there. In our system, when we cross staff somebody, we're really not. They're not on multiple units within netDuty. They're just on multiple units within emergency reporting. And as I understand for emergency reporting, that you can exclude that cross staffing when you do your reports. So when it shows their regular time, it's only going to show regular overtime, those things, and you basically exclude that category. So it isn't being tracked multiple times. That's how I understand it, at least. I am no emergency reporting expert, that's for sure.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, there are several reports, Robert, in the reports module that will pull data from various rosters. So you can take a look at those. That's all the questions we have posted right now.
All right. So next we're going to go over here and we're going to look at an incident report. And again, I am no expert in emergency reporting. I did work at a CAD and records vendor for 18 years, so I do know a little bit about NFIRS and police reporting and those kinds of things, but I am definitely not an emergency reporting expert. But I did create this call up here today on today and a building fire, and so if we click on that, we're going to open that incident and we're going to go to basic 4, I think. And that should show our apparatuses that are assigned. And currently I assigned E1 and E3 to the apparatus, but it currently has no people assigned. Again, I don't know too much about how emergency reporting works with its CAD interface, but I assume that when the CAD sends that call over, it's going to assign those attached apparatuses, and they'll show here. I don't know about personnel if they automatically fill based on those apparatuses in the daily roster or not, but within what I can demo and so forth, I can click on this apparatus, E1, and that pulls up here, and we can do a fill from roster. And these are the users that are currently within Engine 1. So we can save that. We can remove or add people as we need, those kinds of things, of course. And let's go. So now we have 4 people on Engine 1, so we can now click on Engine 3. And Engine 3 is actually one of the, actually it wasn't one of the ones I cross-staffed, but it could have been one of the ones I cross-staffed. And again, I can fill from roster, and I'm going to get those 4 or 5 users that were assigned to that.
Steve, can I interrupt you just for a moment? Yep. Since you're on that page, it'll directly reflect the answer for Rich. Rich is asking, does the position carry over to the incident report to show who was the officer and operator of the apparatus? And the short answer on that, Rich, is no. What we do have, if Steve can go to one of the firefighters over there and select role underneath the person's name, and these are the NFIRS from the NFIRS role list that can be selected from there to indicate who drove, who was in charge, and so forth, and what they did on the call. So hopefully that answers Rich's question.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I've noticed that the shift is also captured in the daily roster. The station is captured in the daily roster, but currently those don't. The user information is what comes over. The rest, the rank, shift, and station are coming from the emergency reporting's roster file, not the daily roster, but the personnel file. So hopefully we'll see a change in the future where that information comes from the daily roster.
Okay, and that's what Rich is saying. Thank you. I was hoping it would fill the roles. So currently it does not, Rich, but that is an excellent opportunity for future development.
Yep. Yeah, again, if we can send the data and you guys can use it better within emergency reporting, that's definitely the idea behind it. We can, update that information. When you update shifts, you may definitely move a guy from shift A to shift B. You also, if he's working overtime, obviously his normal shift is A, but he's working shift B, those kinds of things, that information's available in that daily roster. So again, things can be done with it in the future. So.
Okay, we do have a question posted by Matthew. Matthew is asking and describing first that they have part-time firefighters who come from home for call outs and are not on the daily roster. If you add them to the call, and I'm expecting this, Matthew, the call in emergency reporting, will their time and pay be reflected back into netDuty?
No. What you could do at that point, obviously, is in netDuty they are added and so forth. We have several ways to track that kind of activity within netDuty. So as an administrator, you can go in and add that time card, and you can add multiple time cards. Or time clocks for multiple users that they said that they went to incident, call for service number 5 today. And that information doesn't actually come over to emergency reporting. You could assign them to a particular duty within netDuty, and obviously that would come across and go into the daily roster. But there isn't any flow of that information back. So at the moment, it would depend on how you put it into netDuty. Obviously, we can track the time if it's in netDuty, but nothing currently comes back from emergency reporting. It only goes to emergency reporting.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all questions we have posted. We're caught up.
All right. So lastly, we just want to look at some of the reporting stuff, and I'm actually going to go to, this is our version 4, our current version that's released and so forth. So there is, as you can see, some different look and feel to it and so forth. A lot of it, you'll see the same look and feel, those kinds of things. As you see with this one, we have a time clock. So our Scheduling Plus in advanced supports a time clock, so users can manually clock in, automatically clock in. We can set up our duties to be manual clocked in, automatically clocked in, or both. We support an unscheduled duty, so they can clock in for events, those kinds of things that are not scheduled within netDuty. We have a time clock kiosk program where you can have that up at the station, and so as the firefighters come in, they can click on their clock in and click on their clock out. And then we can set all kinds of different parameters on that too, because to say, okay, well, I came in to jump on the apparatus, I'm not going to hit the clock in when I go in there. But if an administrator gives you the ability to clock in, change those clock in dates, change your clock out dates, we can set pre-clock times to clock out, those kinds of things, again, based on administration and so forth. We can also make that program only run in the fire station, so they can't do it from their phone, those kinds of things. Or we can put exceptions in for individuals that have to do that. I have I think a fire marshal that he clocks in from his phone. So those things can be done and so forth. But one of the functions that we're really working on in the new version that's not complete yet is our reporting module. So that reporting module will have advanced features that this current reporting module doesn't, and should have most of what we have here today. So in this reports module, we can quickly do a phone list and see what people's home phone, cell phone, in case you need to call them and say, hey, come in. But the other thing to use this list for is we can see if they have their text email set up. So within the system, you're going to set up that text email address, and most people don't know what that is. So we're going to offer you a tool, so you can go over here to my settings, my account, and when you click on that tool, we have a little text address configuration tool. You can come in here, go to the list, you can go and put in your phone number, and then you pick your carrier. And so you pick that carrier, you hit a send text, and it's just a test text. It's going to send it out to you from netDuty Online, and you're going to either get it or not get it. And if you get it, you can hit save, and from then on, those text-based notifications are going to come to you. Sometimes they don't come to you. So, I use Straight Talk. And Straight Talk in Montana doesn't use the Straight Talk that's a pop down from here. So when I first tested it, I didn't get anything. So I had to go on the web and say, hey, who does Straight Talk use in Montana? And was able to find out they use Verizon, which Straight Talk uses a lot of Verizon's use. In some places it's AT&T and so forth, but they use a lot of other carriers to do their email text-based notifications and so forth. So that tool will be available to you, and you'll be able to, again, see if users have that set up in their reports. We talked about time and overtime and comp time, those kinds of things. With our sign up with our Scheduling Plus and above, you'll have basic payroll type reports here. So you can hit this timesheet last, where we're going to group people together. And we're going to show their various different categories and total them out here. So hopefully they're returned. So you can see that Chris Adair is showing up here with his pay category, his time card category, the totals. He's Denhart's on some vacation and military leave. Any overtime that would happen would show up here and so forth. But then besides these standard type reports over here on the left, we can also do some basic ad hoc type reports. So our system first starts with a shift. So our scheduling only has shifts. Our Scheduling Plus comes add in the time clock and the time card and basic payroll rules. And then our advanced version gives you more of those rules and more ways to break that up and create time card or time sheets and payroll reports, those kinds of things. So we can go into a time clock here. We can select a pay period. We can look at this by group. So we can do it by group or type of users and so forth. Let's say that we want to look at our career users. We can pick a particular time category. Let's just do some overtime. So did anybody work overtime within that particular pay period? So we're going to hit the run report here.
Hey, Steve, I've got a couple questions posted if you've got a moment.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, from Greg out in California again, is asking that they currently use reserves to augment staffing, and they allow them to sign up for shifts based on their availability. Is there a place in netDuty that would allow them to sign up for that?
Right. So we can do that two ways. We can set the duty and the reserve roster group to have the ability to sign up for open shifts. So if they're not fully staffed, they can just go into that day view, hit their name. They'll have a create icon or a create icon, and their name will show up. They hit apply, and now they're on that shift. That's one way. We can also set those settings by open it up at certain days and close it at certain days, those kinds of things too. Gets kind of complicated, but definitely can be done. And then within the calendar in the new version, currently doesn't have it, but we have in the older version, they'll be able to come in here and bid for shifts. So when we can set up various shifts or apparatuses to be biddable or not biddable. So you can see as we scroll down here, you can see that Rose bid on the shift, Gregory bid on the shift, and so forth. So you see all their various bids. And as a user, you can, if you're not already bid for that shift, you can hit the bid. I happen to be the battalion chief. I don't know why I can bid, but I currently can. And I could switch users to a regular user, and it'd be a little bit different. But those bids will show up. And then as an administrator, you'll have that utility to go review those bids. Hopefully you'll be able to view them in a calendar type format similar to this, but this is how we would do it in our current version 4. We'd hit the admin bid view, and as administrator you can scroll down and see what bids are currently available. So we can see that Gregory bid on a shift here, so we can approve it. We can approve it and delete all the other bids that are currently going on. We can deny it. We have some reports that are going to keep track of all those bids, whether there was no action taken, whether we accepted it, or whether we denied that bid, and so forth. And we can also give you more information about the shift if it's set up is how many hours he's currently assigned within the pay period. So if you don't want those users to go over 30, we're going to warn you that they're currently at 28 hours. So if you accept this shift, they're going to go over that 30-hour limit, those kinds of things. Does that answer your question?
I think you were pretty thorough on that, and I'm sure
Okay.
Greg appreciates that. We have one more question from Nancy. They have a personnel that work month to month based on a pre-submitted availability without a set schedule. So Nancy, I'm assuming they submit like in March, I can work these particular days in this time frame. If that's correct, we're going to ask Steve to respond to that then.
Right. So again, it'd be very similar to this bidding module. They would go in, they would accept, we're going to go to April here because we just started this month. Oops, sorry. And now we're probably going to go to May. And they're going to go in and be able, and I'm in the admin bid view. I would be in the user's bid view, and they can go in and select those particular shifts. One of the things that I'm going to show you one of the tools that we have within that bid view is that they want to, let's say that they want to work every Friday or in Saturday of that month. They can go in. We have what we call a mass bidding utility. And that mass bidding utility allows the user to select the various apparatuses or shifts, and this person, like you said, might just be assigned a shift time and not actually been assigned to an apparatus, those kinds of things. We will create a duty that say it's a 12-hour duty, 12 to or 6 a.m. to 6 p. We could also have a 6 p to 6 a, and they could bid individually different based on those particular shifts, but they could go pick the days they want, pick the shifts that they want, the shift or duty that they want, and then all shifts, B shifts, those kinds of things, and do mass bid. And for that whole month, it's going to go schedule them for the days that they picked.
Okay, great. I'm pretty sure that's the information she needed in.
All right.
We're about ready to wind down, so I know you need just a little bit more time, Steve, but I want to remind all of our attendees.
I'm pretty much in the question answer mode at this point.
Okay, so. Perfect. We do have in the handout section of your control panel, you can download a sheet from netDuty that involves some basic information, and the pricing information is at the bottom of that. Okay, so now we have Eric that's asking, can a tab to netDuty be added to the home screen or menu on emergency reporting?
That's a good question, Eric. I've been asked that too. I don't know the answer. First off, that's an answer of emergency reporting. To see if that type of integration would work. The tab just to pull up the login screen is probably pretty easy. To do single sign-on, those kinds of things, that's a little bit more advanced. But again, that currently is an emergency reporting question. So.
And Eric, I do not have the answer to that. I don't work for the development team or the product owners. I work for the training team, so I don't know the answer to that. So we'll put that in our file to follow up with you on that. So yeah, we are about out of time now. So if anybody does have any additional questions, go ahead and post them in there now, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can. And like to, before we do get off of here, while we're waiting for anybody that does have a question to post in there, thank Steve and Alan and all of the emergency reporting folks online with us today for attending, and all of you folks from out in the emergency reporting world for signing up and attending the Virtual Thursday training. We really do appreciate it. We'll give you another moment here to post a question up if you have it into the question panel. And well, thank you, Jay. Jay is saying thank you for a great presentation. Well done. Well, and now Matthew is asking, does netDuty sell the time clock system, or do you need to purchase from another company?
Right. So we do support a time clock system. So we do support that time clock kiosk where users can clock in and clock out. We don't interface with an actual time clock device those kinds of things currently, but our system allows you to clock in. Again, we can restrict where you can clock in and clock out. You can do it on the user can do it on their dashboard if they're configured that way, but they can definitely use the time clock kiosk. And again, each duty can be set up individually how they clock in. I have a site in Washington State that everybody, including the chief, manually clocks in and clocks out.
Okay,
Along with being able to do electronic approvals, we can have users verify their time clock, and administrators then approve that and indicate that they've been, this time clock has been, checked by somebody.
Okay, thanks. Let's go on to Kenneth Jennings has a question. Do you offer training on your system like ER does with the videos, webinars, knowledge base articles, and so forth?
That is something that we're working on. We definitely support, as we offer a free trial of our system. So again, we're not supposed to sell here, but as part of that setup is that training. That training comes involved both with administrator and or users when they need it. The system, as you can see, it's very easy to use. That doesn't mean there isn't questions. That doesn't mean that but once you've done one paid time off, you learn to do 2, 3 really quickly. So.
Okay, and from Robert Perko, I believe that's Chief Perko from University of Heights, Ohio. We've been working with them, a brand new customer, and I believe they are a CrewSense product user. And he's asking, what makes netDuty a better product than an outfit like CrewSense?
I would say if you ask our current customers why they chose us or why they continue to use us is our customer service. We're there to support them when they have problems, when they have issues, when they have questions. We respond. Normal response is obviously your normal 8 to 5. But my user, if I get an email at 10 o'clock at night and somebody's got a question, most likely they're going to get a response. Okay. And it's probably, how do I do this or whatever. Obviously, if the system's down, those kinds of things, we're there, for you to take care of those problems. But we're also responding, we've worked with several clients to beta our interface, and they went through a lot of pain to make that make sure that the interface worked the way that they want. But those customers are probably our best customers also, because they use the system fully, and when they have a question, they ask. So.
Okay, perfect. And we're a few minutes over, folks, and I don't really have any other questions coming in. So I think today we're going to call it a wrap. And I thank again Steve and Alan for making the presentation and everybody that attended. And we'll be recording this video as we're going along here. We'll be posting it to our knowledge base under the webinars on demand section, and that should be posted by the end of the day tomorrow. So thanks a lot, everybody. And we're going to go ahead and close the session down for today. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody, for attending.